This is a Squiz Kids podcast. Your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you.
Hello Squiz Kids, it's Bryce here, super excited about today's very special Squiz Kids Q&A with, drumroll please, Santa Claus! As you know, we've done a bunch of Squiz Kids Q&As in our time, with prime ministers and pop stars, authors and sports stars, but never have we had someone agree to take the Squiz Kids hot seat quite like this jolly old fellow you're about to meet. Yes, ladies and germs, I'm talking about the big fella in red himself, the man of the festive moment, a bloke so famous and so beloved around the world that he barely needs any introduction. But before we dial into the North Pole, a huge thank you to all the Squiz Kids who sent in a question for Santa. We received hundreds from all over the country, and we wanted to put every single one of them to Santa, but because he's such a busy man, what with Christmas Eve only one sleep away, we've had to limit it to 12 questions. A little bit like the 12 days of Christmas. But don't worry if your question doesn't get asked. We sent the names of every kid who asked a question to Santa, and he's assured us he'll make sure that you all get slotted onto the nice list, not the naughty one this Christmas. Phew. And don't forget, everyone who sent in a question has gone into the draw to win a family pass to Movie World on the Gold Coast. Keep listening until the end of the podcast to see if you were the winner. Alrighty, let's jump straight into it. Checking the time. Yep, this is the time we agreed that I'd phone the North Pole. Dialing the number. It's a long distance call, of course. And waiting to be put through.
Hello?
Hello? Is this Santa Claus?
Why, yes it is. Is that you, Bryce? My elf said you'd be calling.
Yes, it's me. I'm calling you all the way from Australia. I can't believe I'm actually speaking to you.
Oh, yes. It's definitely me. It's so lovely to hear your voice. How's the weather down there in Australia?
Well, Santa, it's hot, as I'm sure you know. It's summer down here. We're about as far removed from the snow and the ice of the North Pole as it's possible to be.
Ah, yes. An Aussie Christmas. There's nothing quite like it in the world. I have a special air conditioning installed in the sleigh for when I visit Australia, and I always make sure to make plenty of stops for the reindeer to drink plenty of water.
Oh, Santa, you don't know how excited we are all down here. It's our favourite time of the year here at Squiz Kids. And I can't believe there's only 2 more sleeps until Christmas morning. Now, can I just ask whether I've made the naughty or the nice list this year? I mean, I've been doing my very best to behave.
Let's see. Everything is very modern these days. I've got all the kids of the world in a database. Corbett, Bryce. Yes, here you are. Well, it looks like you've had a bit of a naughty spell back in July and August, but according to your parents and your elf on the shelf, you've been trying really hard to be a good boy.
I really have, Santa. I promise I really have. But you know what? Today isn't about me. It's about the Squiz Kids here in Australia who have sent questions in for you to answer. Do you suppose you can take a little bit of a break from the toy making and the reindeer prepping to answer a dozen questions from Aussie kids?
I would love to. Mrs. Claus has made me a lovely hot chocolate. The elves are packing the sleigh, and I'm ready to roll.
All right, I know how busy you are, so let's jump straight on in. And our first question comes from Blackburn in Victoria.
Hi, my name is Scar. I am 10 years old and I live in Blackburn South in Victoria. My question is, how many elves do you have? Do they all have names? And how can you tell them apart?
Excellent question. And do you know, I don't know the exact number, but it's definitely in the thousands.
Wow.
And I would be lying if I said I knew every single one of their names. But I do know the names of my head elves, the ones who run the workshop, There's Alabaster Snowball, who manages the naughty and the nice list. There's Bushy Evergreen, who invented the magic toy-making machine. It's genius.
Cool.
Pepper Minstinks, who's in charge of security and guards my secret village and workshop. There's Sugar Plum Mary, who's in charge of Christmas Eve travel logistics and keeps the workshop running in shipshape. And there's Elf Victor, who looks after the stables and organizes the annual reindeer games. And finally, there's Bernard Elf, who's the chief elf and overseer of all the other elves.
Wow, so many jobs and so many elves. So, here's a question now from 7-year-old Gus from the ACT.
Hi, my name is Gus. I'm 7 years old. I live in Ainsley in the ACT. My question is, how does Santa decide if they're in the naughty or nice list?
Ah, Gus, what an excellent question. And it's one I get asked a lot. And you know what? I'm going to let you on in a little secret. I rely on your parents and teachers to help me out with that one. Towards the end of every year, I ask them to email me a behavior update to let me know whether you've been generally well behaved or whether you've been misbehaving. Now, I know kids can't be good all the time, but if you've been naughty more often than you've been nice, you can be sure I'll find out about it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you will, Santa. All right, let's pop on over to Western Australia now, where we have a question which is somewhat related from Oscar.
Hi, my name is Oscar. I am 11 years old and I live in Beaconsfield in Western Australia. My question is, does the elf on the shelf watch us?
Good question, Oscar. I have to say, ever since Elf on the Shelf has made its way into homes all over the world, my naughty and nice lists have gotten even more detailed. Those elves see all sorts of things, and they're pretty good at letting me know whether you've been a good kid and listened to your parents and teachers, or whether you've been naughty. Not that any of the Squiz kids need to worry. I'm sure they've all been on their best behavior this year.
Oh, yes, Santa. Squiz kids are renowned for being good kids. On the same topic now, let's take a question that comes to us from another Oscar. Popular name. This one from the other side of the country. He's in Erskineville in Sydney.
Hi, my name is Oscar. I'm 9 years old and I live in Erskineville in New South Wales. My question is, which country has the best behaved children?
Oh, Oscar, that is an excellent question. And you know what? Very happily for me, there are well-behaved children all over the world. Mexico has some very well-behaved children, as does Fiji and South Africa. The children in Finland are generally well-mannered, and your neighbours in New Zealand are always on their best behaviour. But I have to say, Australia is one of my favourite countries in the world to visit.
Yes!
Parents and teachers have done such a good job with you all this year that it makes my job of compiling a naughty and nice list very easy.
Yay!
So make sure you thank your parents and teachers for doing such a good job with it. They've earned it.
Oh, yeah, they sure have, Santa, and what a year it's been. Let's head down to South Australia now, where Mila has a question for you.
Hi, my name is Miller. I'm 9 years old and I live in Greenwith in SA. My question is, when do you start making toys for Christmas Day?
Oh gosh, do you know what, Mila? I like to give all the elves a solid break after Christmas because they have worked so hard every year. And I usually need a couple weeks to get over Christmas myself. So, we tend to start planning in late January and ideally like to have the workshop up and running again by the middle of February, which gives us a solid 10 months to get all the toys ready for when we do it all over again in December. It's a big operation.
Yeah, it sure is. I hope you get some downtime over the new year, Santa. Now we have a question from Wentworth Point in New South Wales.
Hi, my name is Alia. I'm 11 years old and I live in Wentworth Point in New South Wales. My question is, how do you get into an apartment where there is no chimney?
Yes. How do I get into apartments that don't have a chimney? Excellent question. Well, there's a couple of ways. If you've listened already to the Squiz Kids shortcut on the science of me that came out last week, you'd know that some scientists reckon I have developed the skill to shrink myself to the size of an average keyhole.
Whoa.
And others say I've developed the skill of teleportation.
Wow.
Allowing me to beam into every living room in the blink of an eye.
Whoa.
I can neither confirm nor deny those theories. But what I can tell you is that when all else fails, I have a magic key. It's the only one in the world, and it opens every door.
Whoa.
I keep it safe, under lock and key, in the North Pole. It only works for me. No one else can use it. I am super careful to lock all doors behind me when I leave. The important thing is to remember, wherever you live, whether you have a chimney or not, whether you're on holidays or at home, I will find you.
Oh, well, that is reassuring, Santa. Okay, so I have a bit of a question, and I don't mean to be rude, but where a house has a chimney, how exactly do you fit down it?
Are you saying I'm fat?
Well,
You sound like Mrs. Claus. Do you know every year from September she puts me on a diet
oh,
to make sure I'm fit enough to do my round-the-world present delivery on every Christmas Eve.
Okay.
It's all green shakes, no carbs for a whole month.
Oh.
Then the fitness elves come in and put me through my paces. Star jumps, back bends,
Ow.
planking for the whole month.
wow.
Have you ever tried to plank in the snow, Bryce?
No, I haven't.
It's hard work, but by the time Christmas comes around, I'm fit as a fiddle and ready to do my rounds. But if you listen to that Squiz Kids shortcut on the science of Santa, you'll find out the other clever ways I've worked to get in and out of everyone's houses.
Ah, oh, good. Well, I will have a listen to that shortcut. Apparently, it's very good. And of course, I never doubted for a second that you would find a way to get up and down. I wasn't suggesting you were fat. I really wasn't. Please don't put me on the naughty list. Okay, time to take a question now from Devon, who's from Oran Park in New South Wales.
Hi, my name is Devon. I am 10 years old and I live in Oran Park in New South Wales. My question is, do you feel hot when you travel around Australia?
Excellent question, Devon. And the simple answer is yes. It's always very hot when I do my present deliveries in Australia and South Africa and Argentina, not to mention all of those countries on the equator, like Singapore and parts of India and the Middle East. And that's because while it's winter in the Northern Hemisphere, it's summer down under. But luckily, many, many years ago, when your very own Squiz Kids host Bryce was a wee little boy, he got his mother to make me a pair of Christmas board shorts. And I still wear them to this day whenever I am in Australia. Thanks, Mrs. Corbett.
No problem at all. She sends her love, by the way. And she's made some of her famous Christmas cake again for you this year, you'll be pleased to know, though I'm not sure how that's going to work with your diet. Moving right along, and another logistics question from Gabrielle, who's in Kemps Creek in New South Wales.
Hi, my name is Gabriel. I am 7 years old and I live in Kemps Creek in New South Wales. My question is, how do you go to every house in one night?
Ah, yes, now, that's another question I get all the time. Because as you know, it's a big wide world, and there are lots of countries to visit and presents to deliver. And luckily, the Squiz Kids shortcut on the science of Santa runs through a lot of those answers to a lot of these questions. And this one involves something called a wormhole.
Oh.
Which is sort of like a hyperdrive, a way of sliding from one place to another. Plus, there's a fair bit of Christmas magic involved, because there's no more magical time of the year than Christmas.
How right you are, Santa. And the magic of Christmas is just believing in magic itself. Which brings us neatly to a question from Millie, who's in Victoria.
Hi, my name is Millie. I'm 11 years old and I live in Cheltenham in Victoria. My question is, does your sleigh work if people stop believing in you?
Oh, Millie, what an excellent question. Perhaps you've seen the movie Elf? It's one of my favourite holiday films.
Yeah.
Does my sleigh stop working if people stop believing? We've tried all sorts of different fuels for the Santa sleigh over the years, and some of them work better than others. But what's undoubtedly true is that the sleigh works best when people believe. You know, sometimes the wonder of not knowing how something works is what makes it truly magical. The magic of Christmas is about believing in something extraordinary. It's about the spark of imagination that lights up when you let yourself believe.
Oh, beautifully put, Santa. Now, I know you're on a tight deadline, but if you're okay, we've got a few more questions to go through.
Of course. I'm actually enjoying this. Squiz Kids have such clever questions.
Yeah, no, they're a clever bunch, Santa. Okay, who's next here? Yes, it's Zach from Coburg in Melbourne.
Hi Santa, my name is Zach. I am 7 years old. I live in Coburg, Victoria. My question is, what is your favourite Christmas song? Thanks.
Oh, that's an easy one. It's a little song called I Saw Mummy Kissing Santa Claus.
Oh, Santa!
No, of course not. That's just Santa being silly. There's no time for kissing. Too many presents to deliver. For a very long time, my favourite Christmas carol was Jingle Bells, because I love the sound of the reindeer bells. And then, back in the 60s, I used to love flying along listening to Jingle Bell Rock, because it was so jaunty. But, as I've gotten older, I find myself drawn to the classics. And I can't go past Silent Night.
Ah, yeah, me too. The Bing Crosby version is the best. Righto, only 2 questions left. Let's go to sunny Queensland now for a question from Hazel.
Hi, my name is Hazel. I'm 7 years old and I live in Camp Hill in Queensland. My question is, what is your favourite snack for kids to leave out on Christmas Eve?
Oh, Hazel, how very thoughtful of you. Don't tell Mrs. Claus because I'm supposed to be on a diet, but I like any kind of cookie. I'm quite partial to a bit of Christmas cake. Sometimes when I'm in Australia, I'll stumble across the old Tim Tam or iced Vovo. That's always a nice surprise. But let's assume Mrs. Claus is going to listen to this. In which case, I'm going to say an apple or a low-fat tub of sugar-free yogurt.
Yes, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Santa, your secret is safe with me. Okay, gosh, look at the time. You've got to get back to those elves. Last question, Santa. Let's see. Yes, and it's down to beautiful Tasmania we go, where Lily has a question.
Hi, my name is Lily. I am 6 years old. I live in Kingston Beach, Tasmania. My question is, what would Santa like for Christmas?
Oh, Lily, what a kind little girl you are. I would like all the kids everywhere to be as thoughtful and as selfless as you obviously are. And that's the one thing I would like to emphasize to all kids. Yes, receiving presents on Christmas Day is super exciting, but the real pleasure in life comes from giving. Being generous of mind and spirit, which is to say, being kind. So try to remember that over the Christmas holidays. A kind word or thoughtful gesture here and there, and you might just make someone's Christmas.
Well said, Santa. Well, I'm going to let you go now because you have a busy 24 hours ahead. Best of luck with tomorrow night, Santa, and I promise I'll be in bed early, and I promise I won't wake up too long before the sun has risen. And I just have one more request, if that's okay.
Yes, of course, Bryce.
We've got a family pass to give away to Movie World on the Gold Coast, just in time to celebrate 85 years of Batman. Now, we had hundreds of questions from kids all over Australia, and each kid went into the draw. Can you tell us, Santa, who the winner is?
I'd be delighted. But first, I want to say thank you to each and every Aussie kid that sent in a question. Now you're going on to my nice list. And the winner for the Movie World Family Pass is 7-year-old Harvey from Mount Riverview in New South Wales, who sent in an excellent question of, how long is your beard? And you know what, Harvey? I've never measured my beard. It's long enough to get lots of cookie crumbs caught in it. Evidence for Mrs. Claus to accuse me of not following my diet.
Congrats to them. We'll be in touch via email to get your prize to you. And finally, Santa, it's Squiz Kids Q&A tradition to have our special guest do the Squiz Kids sign-off. Would you do the honours?
I would be most happy to, Bryce. Now, get out there and have a most excellent Christmas.
Over and out.